Good morning, Internet. How you doing today? Welcome back to Jeremy Reads Aloud, self-help books. And on this video stream, on this social media outlet, I am reading books on self-improvement. Book we're reading right now is King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, Rediscovering the Archetypes of the Mature Masculine by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. I encourage you to get the book yourself. There's an Amazon link. Please buy the book and study it yourself. We're on page 121 of chapter 8, The Lover. And the subheading is now The Lover in His Fullness. The lover is the archetype of play and of quote-unquote display, of healthy embodiment, of being in the world of sensuous pleasure and in one's own body without shame. Thus the lover is deeply sensual, sensually aware and sensitive to the physical world in all its splendor. The lover is related and connected to them all, drawn into them through his sensitivity. His sensitivity leads him to feel compassionately and empathetically united with them. For the man accessing the lover, all things are bound to each other in mysterious ways. He sees, as we say, the world in a grain of sand. This is the consciousness that knew long before the invention of holography that we live. In fact, in a holographic quote-unquote universe, one in which every part reflects every other in immediate and sympathetic union. It isn't just that the lover energy sees the world in a grain of sand, he feels that this is so. A young boy entered psychotherapy at the insistence of his parents. Because, as they said, he was very quote-unquote strange. He was, they said, spending too much time alone. What this boy reported when asked about his supposed quote-unquote strangeness was that he would go on long walks in the forest until he found a secluded spot. He would sit down on the ground and watch the ants and other insects making their tortuous ways through the blades of grass, the fallen leaves, and other tiny plants on the forest floor. Then he said he would begin to feel that the world is what the world is like for the ants. He would imagine himself as an ant. He could feel the sensations of the ant as it climbed over the pebbles, to him, huge rocks, and swayed precariously on the ends of leaves. Perhaps even more remarkable, the boy reported that he could feel what it was like to be the lichen on the trees and the cool damp moss on the fallen logs. He experienced the hunger and the joy, the suffering and the satisfaction of the whole animal and plant world. This boy was, in our view, accessing the lover in a powerful way. He was instinctively empathizing with the world of things around him. Perhaps he was really feeling, as he believed he was, the actual experiences of those things. We believe that the man accessing the lover is open to a quote-unquote collective, 122, collective, unconscious, perhaps even vaster than that which Jung proposed. Jung's collective unconscious is the unconscious of human beings as an entire species, and contains, as Jung said, the unconscious memories of all that has ever happened in the lives of all the people that have ever lived. But if, as Jung suggested, the collective unconscious appears to be limitless, why stop there? Why stop here? What if the collective unconscious is vast enough to include the impressions and sensations of all living things? Perhaps, indeed, It includes what some scientists are now calling primary awareness, even in plants. This idea that there is a universal consciousness is reflected in Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Star Wars series, who is deeply sensitive to and empathetic toward the whole of his galaxy and feels any subtle changes in the quote-unquote the Force. Eastern philosophers have said that we are like waves on the surface of this vast sea. The lover energy has immediate and intimate contact with this underlying quote-unquote oceanic connectiveness. Along with sensitivity to all inner and outer things comes passion. The lover's connectedness is not primarily intellectual. It is through feeling. The primal hungers are felt passionately in all of us, at least beneath the surface. But the lover knows this with a deep knowing. Being close to the unconscious means being close to the quote-unquote fire, to the fires of life, and on the biological level, to the fires of the life-engendering metabolic processes. Love, as we all know, is quote-unquote hot, often quote-unquote too hot to handle. The man under the influence of the lover wants to touch and be touched. He wants to touch everything physically and emotionally, and he wants to be touched by everything. He recognizes no boundaries. He wants to live out the connectiveness he feels with the world inside, in the context of his powerful feelings, and outside in the context of his relationships with other people. Ultimately, he wants to experience the world of sensual experience in its totality. Take a quick break on page 123 to see an illustration here, an ancient Hindu sculpture here. And it reads here below: Lovers, Mithuna, India, Madhya Pradesh, Kajoro style, 11th century CE, courtesy of Cleveland Museum of Art, Leonard C. Hanna, Jr. Fund, CMA 82.64. So just quickly look at that illustration. Very sensual sculpture for you to chew on for a while. All right, moving back to the reading, page 122. The man under the... Okay, we already read that part. He has what is known as an aesthetic consciousness. He experiences everything, no matter what it is, aesthetically. All of life is art to him and evokes subtly nuanced feelings. The nomads of the Kalahari are lovers. They are aesthetically attuned to everything in their environment. They see hundreds of colors in their desert world, subtle nuances of light and shadow, and shades of what to us are simply browns or tans. Page 124. The lover energy, arising as it does out of the Oedipal child, is also the source of spirituality, especially of what we call mysticism. In the mystical tradition, which underlies and is present in all the world's religions, the lover energy, through mystics, intuits the ultimate oneness of all that is and actually seeks to experience the oneness in daily life, while it still dwells in a mortal, finite man. The same boy who could imagine himself as an ant also reported what he could see as the beginnings of mystical experience in his account of a peculiar feeling he had on certain associations at a YMCA camp one summer. Once a week, the campers would be roused from their beds late at night and trekked along obscure forest paths in the pitch blackness to a central clearing, there to watch a reenactment of ancient Native American songs and dances. This boy said that often, as he was sneaking his way along behind the other boys from his cabin, he would have almost uncontrollable urge to open his arms wide to the darkness and to fly into it, feeling the trees tear through his spiritual body with no pain, just a feeling of ecstasy. He said he felt like he wanted to be one with the mystery of the dark unknown and with the threatening yet strangely reassuring night forest. These kinds of sensations are exactly what the mystics of the world's religions describe when they talk about their urge to become one with the mystery. For the man accessing the lover, ultimately everything in life is experienced this way. While feeling the pain and the poignancy of the world, he feels great joy as well. He feels joy and delight in all the sensory experiences of life. He may know, for example, the joy of opening a cigar humidor and smelling the exotic aromas of the tobaccos. He may also be sensitive to music. He may feel exquisitely the eerie thrumming of the Indian sitar, the swelling of a great symphony, or the ascetic thunk of an Arab clay drum. Writing may be a sensuous experience for him. When we have asked writers why so many of them feel that they have to smoke when they sit down to their typewriters, they have told us that the smoking relaxes them by opening up their senses to impressions, feelings, the nuances of words. They feel deeply connected by doing this with what they call the earth or the world. Inside and outside come together in one continuous whole, and they are able to create. Page 125. Languages. The different sounds and subtle meanings of words will be approached through the lover's emotional appreciation. Other people may learn languages in a mechanical way, but men accessing the lover learn them by feeling them. Even highly abstract thoughts, like those of philosophy, theology, or the sciences, are felt through the senses. Alfred North Whitehead, the great 20th century philosopher and mathematician, makes this clear in his writings, at once technical and deeply feeling toned, even sensual. And a professor in higher mathematics reported being able to feel, as he put it, what the fourth dimension is like. The man, profoundly in touch with the lover energy, experiences his work and the people on the job with him. Through his aesthetic consciousness, he can read people like a book. He is often excruciatingly sensitive to their shifts in mood and can feel their hidden motives. This can be a very painful experience indeed. The lover is not, then, only the archetype of the joy of life. In his capacity to feel at one with others and with the world, he must also feel their pain. Other people may be able to avoid pain, but the man in touch with the lover must endure it. He feels the painfulness of being alive, both for himself and for others. Here we have the image of Jesus weeping for his city, Jerusalem, for his disciples, for all of humanity, and taking the sorrows of the world upon himself as the quote unquote man of sorrows, one acquainted with grief, as the Bible says. We all know that love brings both pain and joy. Our realization that this is profoundly and unalterably true is archetypally based. Paul, in his famous hymn to love, which proclaims the characteristics of authentic love, says that, quote unquote, love bears all things and, quote unquote, endures all things. And so it does. The troubadours of the late Middle Ages in Europe sang of the exquisite, quote-unquote, pain of love that simply is an inescapable part of its power. Man, under the influence of the lover, does not want to stop at socially created boundaries. He stands against the artificially, he stands against the artificiality of such things. His life is often unconventional and quote unquote messy. The artist's studio, the creative scholar's study, the quote unquote go for it boss's desk. Consequently, because he is opposed to quote unquote law in this broad sense, we see enacted in his life of confrontation with the conventional, the old, page 126, the old tension between sensuality and morality, between love and duty, between, as Joseph Campbell poetically describes it, quote unquote, amor and Roma, quote unquote, amor, standing for passion experience, and Roma, standing for duty and responsibility to law and order. The lover energy is thus utterly opposed, at least at first glance, to the other energies of the mature masculine. His interests are the opposite of the warriors, the magicians, and the kings concerned for boundaries, containment, order, and discipline. What is true within each man's psyche is true in the panorama of history and cultures as well. We're going to take a little break on page 126. Tune in next video. Another day I'll be reading Cultural Background on chapter 8, The Lover of the Book. King, warrior, magician, lover. Rediscovering the Archetypes of the Mature Masculine by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. I encourage you to get the book yourself. Click the Amazon link below and you can buy the book yourself for your personal studies. Thank you for watching, folks. It's been a delight. I hope you have young men, I hope you have an awesome and satisfying, love-filled weekend. Feel each moment. Don't just go through the motions, but feel it. And we'll talk to you real soon in the future. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye.